It's going to make you feel like you spent so much money on it, but it's definitely less time. Also, how you can change it and mold it to really fit each one of your clients just by changing the product and even some things in the placement and how you can customize it for each one of your guests. But it's because a lot of the times when I'm doing this type of a blonding service, sometimes they do have some previous blonde. Just like Becca, we did actually pre-lighten just some smalls. And what's cool with blondes is that ash was so big, and then warmth is so big, and then this actually sits somewhere in between. Okay, and that really is that kind of red carpet blonde, right? Where somebody's walking in the spotlight and you can see just reflections and things bouncing off of their color, but it looks exquisite. So if you go ahead and look down, you can see how the top of her hair here is definitely like level 7, right? And then my next one is Illumina as well, which is a permanent color, violet-based permanent color. And we have 959, which is actually a blush color. So it's like a little bit of like a pinky champagne-y blonde, but mixed in with a 960, which is a very strong violet. You're adding in something that's like softer, and actually the red is really faint and the violet's still in that pink, right? So this is maybe even slightly darker than her natural, but it's basically her natural. And 736, so that's smoky gold. And then again, that is with 20 volume. So it's definitely gonna give us lift. It's definitely going to be lighter and blonder, and I'm gonna run it from roots all the way through ends. But I like to start with something that's really soft as that first foil. So with my lightener, my Blondeur, and I'm gonna paint it, feather it up and paint it just away from the roots. So notice the only one that was really painted right to the roots is that very first one that's gonna give it kind of like a goldeny, soft effect. So I'm gonna paint this all the way through wherever her dark is and not overlap onto any previous blonde. She doesn't have much previous blonde there, so it's almost going all the way through that section. Now I'm using Mar foils for this. My typical go-to is Reynolds 711, but I'm using Mar today because I'm going away from the root. Already got a darker to lighter effect, and now we're just putting in all of the different tones. So now that I went in with that piece that was a low light, and then before that I had a Blondeur piece, I'm gonna go in with that level 10 because there is a darker color in between. So I'm keeping in mind how close are those lighter pieces together? How close is that Blondeur piece to that level 10 piece? Because otherwise you'll have a big gap of dark in between, and so you have to, so the low light, I'm saying level 7 as a low light, it will be a little golder and a little lighter than her hair, but it is the darkest shade that we're using. So we're marrying these two together with that level 10 and 40 volume and incorporating a lot more of her root color in this area. So when you're choosing formulas for your client, this could be, you could do a copper like this. You could do a brunette like this. I think that I'm really passionate, honestly, about doing blondes because I feel like you can see every single little detail in this kind of technique, right? So this is really helping us just kind of exercise our artistry as a colorist, like a true colorist, right? Whereas now I feel like we can really exercise so much more of our skill set and our color theory and our color knowledge, just so that I make sure and get the exact same amount of lift on both sides of her head because it is the very top section of her hair. I might even just do 1, 2 to give myself, because I have so many formulas to get through, that I'll just do 2 low lights. So I'm gonna now jump from that previous low light to another Formula A, my Blondeur area, okay? And just so you know, I'm leaving all of the ends out except for the ones that are in that maybe the level 9, because I feel like I want to, that's kind of what your foils are going to look like, where they kind of, but they're going to span out further here and get tighter in the center. I want my level 9, my level 10, and my Blonde D'Or to be kind of the most prominent things that you see through that top area, your head. So I want to make sure that it's not super bright here and too dark here, right? We want the front of her head to be the lightest part possible, and we want this to kind of gradually go a little bit darker. Now again, this is my level 10 with 40 volume. Just gonna give that a double fold and just lift it away. So what I'm gonna do on the opposite side is I have that level 9 right at her part, and then I have a level 10. And so now I'm gonna just keep alternating these 3 tones through this top area, and then I'm gonna end at my low light. So parting that away, I'm gonna go in again, level 9, level 10, and then end at my low light. The reason I take them so fine at the parting is because I want to make sure that you can see all 3 of the tones right where she parts her hair. So we're going in with the level 9, a little bit away from the root, but it's 100% away up to you. You can go, sometimes I do this and I'll do like a mohawk section, so you actually see like the ribbons coming this way of all the different tones. So I'm going in with my level 10, and my next one is gonna be Blonde D'Or. Not like a big stripe, right, or a big chunk. We wanna make sure that we're spacing everything out enough in between each lightest piece and each low light, right? It's more of a tonal shift, like, so because I used 40 volume with my level 10, you're not gonna see a lot of the tone of it. But because I used only 20 volume in my level 9, even though a 9 and a 10 are close, right? So now here I've got a Blonde D'Or piece and then a low light. So I'm gonna have a low light just above it to kind of give us a little bit of like a ribbon in between. So my level 9, right on the opposite side, I'm gonna take the smallest little sliver of hair, of her natural hair, here, and this is all just going to be kind of natural in between the 2, but I just want you guys to know that this is gonna be a level 10, and then the next one is gonna be another level 9, and then I go in with that Blonde D'Or so it has a little bit of that peekaboo effect, right? So it'll have a little bit more of like a, oh, there's the sparkles coming from underneath that are like the lighter, brighter. And then the low light, level 9, 10, Blonde D'Or, and then ending on that low light, because I remember that previously I ended at a Blonde D'Or, right? So now I am going in with my level 10, whisking it through and painting it all the way through the ends. Then I'll do one more level 9, and we're going to actually brighten up some of the end pieces around her face with that Blonde D'Or, and we will be done. I'm gonna go in with one more level 9, and then I'll go in with my darkest color, because we are at the darkest part of her head, to finish off. I am gonna go all the way through these ends because it's only 20 volume, and so I know by doing this at the very end, because I am hitting some of that previous blonde hair, it's not gonna over process because I'm only kissing the end. That's gonna be perfect for me because I'm just barely wisping it to those previously lightened ends, and then I'm really, really saturating those mids and making sure that we get the amount of lift that we need, with this only being on for about 10 minutes. 10 to 15, right? This will be beautiful, and it will break it up and be goldy and all of the things. But with some of this blonde being a little bit fresh and brighter in the front, I'm just gonna take like a couple of big weave sections here through the side. Just kind of like naturally, very natural placement. Weave here, and then just painting from here kind of down and just making sure we kind of freshen that up. So this previous blonde, not even gonna paint it, just kind of like whisking it to the side with my dry brush, right? And just getting it to pop. And because we did a V on that side and a V on this side, we're just gonna do, for our painting pattern, a center point just up the center. Like I said, it's very kind of monochromatic in the way that it will look, but you'll see how it's just gonna reflect so many different tones. So just a soft blend. So I'm gonna let Becca show it to you and show you the hairline and all the details of everything and how it pops on her ends. You have it all at your fingertips, so why not get creative and use that color theory to get your next luxurious, rich blonde.